Bahrain, fostered by the United States of America. To help us unpack all of this and to bring us the latest news is Dr. Haider Eid, speaking to us out of the Gaza Strip. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dr. Haider, welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for hosting me.
Dr. Haider, what is the latest situation? We understand that it is a very tense situation once again in the Gaza Strip.
No, as you know, and as you said in your introduction, 2 nights ago, while Benjamin Netanyahu was giving his speech at the White House ceremony after signing the so-called normalization deal with both Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates, obviously some resistance organizations from Gaza wanted to send a very strong message to those people in Washington and decided to launch 2 rockets for about 40 kilometers. The cities of Ashdod and Ashkelon were attacked by a couple of rockets exactly at the same time while Benjamin Netanyahu was giving his speech. And it was just a message. And that's why Israel decided to attack civilian infrastructure in the Gaza Strip. They launched massive attacks in north of Gaza, south, east, and west, bringing sites to rubble. But this comes also after about 20 days of discovering the first cases of coronavirus in Gaza. People are are under a lockdown right now, and things have become worse day by day. And as you and your listeners know very well, Gaza has been under this medieval siege imposed by apartheid Israel since 2007. And, Israel controls all the crossings leading to Gaza. And the only crossing that we have, the only exit that we have to the external world is the Rafah crossing, which has also been closed by the Egyptian authorities. So Gaza has become a de facto, in a way, open air prison, where you have 2 million people living in on the most densely populated area on earth.
Mm-hmm. And looking at this particular deal that has now been signed, on a practical sense, how will it further deteriorate the living conditions of the people in Gaza?
Well, the people of Gaza, the population is about 2 million, and they are an important component of the Palestinian people. You have about 4 million also Palestinians living in the West Bank. And you have 1.6 million Palestinians living as second, if not third-class citizens in Israel, and about 6-7 million Palestinian refugees living in the diaspora. Most of them live in refugee camps in miserable conditions. Now, Gaza, 80% of Gazans are refugees, entitled to their right of return in accordance with United Nations Resolution 194. And this is why actually all Palestinians, all political organizations, all civil society sectors have expressed dismay and great disappointment with the deal signed between Bahrain, Emirates, and Israel. And it has been taken as, a stab in the back of the Palestinian struggle. Some people even call it a treason and betrayal of the struggle of the Palestinian people and Palestinian martyrs altogether. And this is why we have demonstrations taking to the streets while Benjamin Netanyahu and the leaders of the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and the United States of America were signing the deal. You wouldn't find a single Palestinian in Palestine and in Gaza in particular supporting this deal of shame, in fact.
And looking at, you're speaking about not a single Palestinian you would find that supports it. What does that say about the level of unity now amongst the various Palestinian political factions?
Yeah, before the signing of the deal, there was a meeting between all leaders, secretary generals of all political organizations. And that meeting was chaired by the chairperson of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas. And all leaders of mainstream political organizations attended that meeting, from Hamas to Islamic Jihad to the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine to the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, etc., etc. And I think there is an agreement between all those organizations actually to oppose this normalization deal and to start taking practical steps between Fatah and Hamas to unite the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. But I must tell you also that we are skeptical. I mean, the people on the street, including myself, for example, we said it, we've been there, we've heard it, we've seen it so many times since 2007 and today. Whenever Hamas and Fatah were very, very close to signing a deal, something would come up and spoil everything. And I think this time they are saying that it is different because what we are facing is an existential threat. This is an existential threat in the sense that for the first time in history, you have Arab leaders, you have Arab presidents and sheikhs standing on the side of Israel, meaning that they are supporting the process of ethnic cleansing that has been going on since 1948. That means some Arab leaders have decided to actually, I mean, this is different from what you had in South Africa while you were fighting against the apartheid system. You were expecting the international community, including your African brothers and sisters, to boycott the apartheid system, divest from it, and impose sanctions against it. But what we have right now here, you have Arab leaders actually standing on the side of the apartheid system in Palestine, that is to say, apartheid Israel, in violation of international law. And this is why I think that all Palestinian organizations and civil society sectors have come to the conclusion that the only way forward is unity.
Mm. And if you look at support from outside for the Palestinians, do you see that support coming through now that we have regional and global economic powers that are openly siding with the Israelis?
Yeah. We've learned our lessons from history and from your struggle in South Africa. In 1958 or 1959, when a handful of ANC members came together in London and decided to issue a statement calling on the international community in general and Africans and third world peoples in particular to boycott the apartheid system and impose sanctions. And, everybody was laughing at the time. Nobody believed that the international community would boycott the apartheid system until we came to the late 80s and 1990. Mandela was released thanks to the popular struggle, popular resistance on the ground, and to the global BDS campaign, which means by learning this lesson from your struggle in South Africa, we all have come to the conclusion that we cannot count on government and diplomatic missions, etc. But we can count on people's support for our struggle, and this is why in 2005 we, Palestinian civil society, supported by all political organizations, issued our BDS call, calling on the international community to boycott apartheid Israel the same way it boycotted the apartheid system of South Africa until it crumbled in 1994. But to add to this, we have also come to the conclusion that the two-state solution is a racist solution for excellence, and we want the international community to support our new call for a one-state solution, a secular democratic state on the historic land of Palestine, a state for all of its citizens, regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless of gender, etc. The same way you people in South Africa rejected the Bantustan system, and not a single country in the world, with the exception of Israel, recognized those Bantustans. And this is why we think that our BDS campaign is great momentum, so much so that Israel is considering it to be existential and a strategic threat.
Dr. Haider Eid, Jazakallah khairan. Thank you as always for joining us on Salam Media and providing that insight on the crisis that the Palestinian people are now facing. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness. And every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We